All right, everyone, we're going to get you into the episode here in just a minute. But as we were recording this, we did have some severe thunderstorms roll through. So our episode quality and connection wasn't as great as we would normally like it. But it's still going to be a great conversation regardless.
Yep, we definitely went down a couple rabbit holes with Troy, and we hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.
All right, everyone, we are here with the one, the only, Mr. Troy Fowler, a.k.a. Ranch Fairy, a.k.a. Big Bass Fairy. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll
Big
get
trout,
into that here in a
big snook
minute.
fairy too.
There you go. Man, it needs no introduction. This is going to be an episode that you're either going to really, really love, like I feel like Ben and I are going to, or you're going to have your opinion, and you're really, really going to hate it. And so we don't apologize because this will be
John
fun.
Adams, he was a relatively interesting individual who signed the Constitution. Said facts are stubborn things. So we're going there.
We're going there. Let's get there. So, Troy, we know who you are. We follow your content. We know exactly what we're probably going to, we're going to be talking about today. But for those people that are under a rock and maybe not a fan of FOC and shooting adult arrows, the floor is yours, brother.
Okay. Well, good afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are. The long story is, I've been shooting a bow and arrow since I was 12. I'm 53 years old. I've killed stuff with flint, with trad, with hand-tied feathers in flint. I got wild with the trad thing a long time ago. Went back to a compound. I shot a trad for about a decade. I was one of those jackasses at the 3D tournaments, like, well, I'm shooting trad, right? Oh, God, it was annoying. So, long story short, I've hunted just about everything on the earth. I'm the worst elk hunter ever. If you ever hear that I drew your unit, leave, because the elk are leaving. That's been my experience elk hunting. Anyway, my channel is about arrow testing and put in hunting situations. That's the basic thing. Everybody knows me as the heavy arrow guy and the 1,000-grain arrow guy and all this stupid stuff that rolls around the internet that people send me. I fish a lot. I don't really pay attention to it, but what happened to me was I killed a 150-inch deer and put him in the book in 2008, and I have not shot a deer since. I don't care to do it again. I've helped probably 100 people kill, and I don't know how many thousands of people have killed random animals because they've watched the channel and done the ranch everything, which is really where my passion is. I'm getting older and I don't care. I'm just not pissed at them anymore, but it's rewarding to me to help people if they're still pissed at them. And that's, tongue in cheek. They got the red ass to hunt. Then let's shoot the best flying stick you can. However, that being said, and I'm currently having to struggle with a pig at the ranch. I have not lost my love of hunting big adult feral hogs, and they aren't easy. I've got one right now who's being a pain in the ass. He is not playing fair. So I'm mad. I'm going hunting this evening after him again. This is the 4th time. I've seen him once. He keeps winning me and stuff. It's just wild. Anyway, back up about 6 or 8 years. So really serious.
Oh, you're breaking up on me.
8 nieces and nephews. So I like taking people hunting. But I never lost the pig thing. And at the ranch that I run, I kept hunting the big ones. And at one time, I was about 50% effective at finding them. Okay, now mind you, I'm shooting at a deer feeder at a known distance. It's not brain surgery to hit them. And I was getting half an arrow in them. A lot. And I had everything. I had fast. I had mechs. I had every broadhead on earth. I changed from a 3-blade 125 to a 2-blade to a 4-blade. All the stuff we kind of go through as we try to figure out the mess when things don't work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm practical. And if what I'm doing ain't working, and I'm trying everything. I'm shooting a fast bow, a 400 spine arrow, 70 pounds, straight out of the shop stuff. Because I didn't know any better. Everybody said, well, pigs are tough. Bullshit, I'm a respiratory therapist. They have lungs and a heart. You cut them, they die. Everything on earth. Elephants are the same way. Now, they're more durable because they got that. But nonetheless, about 2014, I said, what I'm doing is not working that great. I'm hitting them okay. I'm getting half an arrow. I'm not bouncing off. I've got a couple where I had mechanicals bounce off in videos and do weird stuff. But nonetheless, I was still 50% on big stuff. So 200 pounds is a big one. Those pigs are about 6 feet long. On our place, 200 is big. It's just like Iowa deer versus Texas deer and all that. Depends on what they eat, genetics, blah. I said, well, this Ashby, read Dr. Ed Ashby's study. It's called the Natal study. It's the greatest study of arrow penetration ever done. I doubt it will ever be duplicated. 1,000 shots on animals plus 113 data points per 27 years. It's not a small book.
No.
Yeah.
It's not some asshat did it for 6 months and called it good. Okay. So I said, okay, well, what I'm doing is 50%. If I shoot that and it's 50%, then the pigs are just amazing. So I basically I got crazy. I got crazy, real crazy. So I went to a 300 spine arrow and I put a 100 grain insert and 125 grain Magna Stinger on. Man, I was getting wild. I was nuts, right? And I started shooting through them like laser beams. That's only a 550 grain arrow. It was dramatic. Mm-hmm. Like, it was dramatic. I still lost a couple because of bad shot placement and freaking out and all that. Okay, that's just human. But I start seeing the arrows go to the fletch or going through them, or it'll hit the ground and the fletching's in the middle of them and it pulls out. Not half an arrow in them, half an arrow out of them.
Yep.
And I started killing them, like 60 yards killing them. And I went, whew. So I went to 700 and a single bevel. And I built the most Ashby arrow I could build. I built 11 factor arrows. So one of the 12 factors is a tapered shaft. They're hard to find. There's only a couple of vendors. They're a pain in the ass to tune. I don't recommend shooting a tapered shaft. They're hard to tune and they're annoying. They're just annoying. But just shoot a parallel. So get the other 11 factors. I learned to sharpen. I learned to strop. I started shooting one-piece single bevels, and I started plowing them. Now it's just like, if I hit them right, they're dead. Mm. And that sounds arrogant, but my progression from what was to what is amazing. And I'll give you a story that's not good. I was hunting a big one last year. This is a ninth hunt. He finally makes a mistake. He's a big tanker. He was probably 250 pounds. He was big. Comes in, pushes the pig off the snare, rolls in front of me at 17 yards. He wiggled, and I waggled, and I shot right through him 4 inches behind the crease. The arrow skipped through him and went 20 yards past him. Broadhead was still sharp when I picked it up. Arrow system did not fail.
Yeah.
He did not die.
Wow.
Because he moved when I shot, and it just didn't go right. But the arrow system, this is the key. The arrow system didn't stop, didn't dull, didn't break, didn't bend, didn't do nothing. I shot poorly. He's not dead. That bastard showed up in another deer feeder 2 weeks later on camera, said, hell, I'm not going back over there. And he's still running around out there. They're That's so awesome. Tough. So I low gut shot him because I was aiming low to shoot him in the heart. And he moved when I shot, and it just went because they twitch all the time. And I missed.
Yeah. It happens.
The key to this story is, it happens to everybody. The arrow didn't fail.
Yeah. Yeah. And
when you hit one right and the arrow system fails, you got to back up and say, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Well, and I mean, I know we were going to dive into it pretty deep today. So I guess we can almost break this down into a couple parts. And there's one thing that I think I've really taken away from the Ashby studies and hearing you talk and a 700 grain arrow isn't going to be right for every individual. People are going to people are going to find their comfort on that. But I think the biggest thing that I've taken away, and a lot of this, I mean, we can kind of get into the Hunting Public Boys and how they've kind of helped maybe push the movement. I'm going to use air quotes for a movement, but
they're all in. They're all in.
Having somebody like that behind you definitely helps stir up the conversation, right?
Oh, there's Ashby, no doubt. There is no doubt. Right?
And I'm sure you've heard Dr. Ashby talk to Steve Ranella and the back and forth that they had on there. That helped really push the movement because that's where I first heard of it. And that just, I think, it to the moon, right? I mean, we talk about Rocket Man and stuff like that, but that really blasted this conversation off. But I guess where I've taken from it the most is sharpness, sharpness, sharpness. We're an outdoor retailer. We sell a ton of broadheads, from everything from Rage to G5s to we're getting in a couple of single and double bevel stuff. I mean, Magnus, Vaps, the whole thing. And everything that we have on the shelf could kill something and will kill something, but everything could be improved. Everything can be improved. And so,
when people ask me this question, I get 1,000 messages a month about arrows and broadheads and everything. Between May and October, it's 1,000 messages a month, including back and forth. Okay, so don't blow that out of the water too far. But arrow flight and sharp are the two most overlooked things. Arrow flight sucks. Yeah. It takes a ton of work. It really does.
It does.
Yep.
Once you figure out how to bear shaft, which is the gold standard, if you can get a bear shaft to shoot pretty damn close to straight, deflections don't have to work as much, and the arrow's going to fly. That's annoying. It took me a long time to figure it out. And sharp is a skill that's so overlooked, and it makes such a difference. It's unbelievable what a stropped, I'm talking hair popping, not cut the hair off. I'm talking about the hair leaving.
Yeah.
Stropped edge does for the shorter blood trails.
Yeah.
And what blood trail to me is in quotes, because you can't predict that there's going to be blood on the ground ever. You never will. If you'll write it down on the next 10 deer kills you get, you'll see variance that's amazing, but they will be 40 yards away.
Yeah.
Right? So let me back up a little bit. Tell me about you guys and your experience hunting, and why in the hell are you talking to me?
So,
I mean, you have an outdoor shop, you got to sell stuff.
Yep.
I got that. I don't care what you sell. Get the bow hunters in. Let's get them. Let's keep the movement going. Keep bow hunting up, right? And then we'll get them back if they shoot the flat.
So I think, and just started off, I know Ben's a huge tinker, but for myself, the arrow flight and the tinkering, and I'm building a Ferrari. I'm not building a Volkswagen when I go through the woods. Yep. People make fun of me because, hey, it'll shoot 12 yards to the to the corn pile. That's all I really care about. And to a large part, that's a lot of our customer base.
Which is absolutely,
that is 1,000% fine.
Yep.
It's just not what I want to dive into it more. That's the way my mind works. That's the way I want to know that everything that I can possibly do outside of what's in here is done. And once that arrow leaves my bow, it's out of my control. So
it's out of your control.
It's out of my control. And so the work that you've put in is going to be the result. I think I've heard you say, don't be mad about the work you didn't get for the work you didn't put in, or there's a quote, and it's for the work you didn't do. And so that's why I'm really concerned about this. I'm not too far in the camp that I feel like I need a 700 pound or 700 grain arrow. Like I'm kind of on the fence, but I feel like a 550, a 600, 500, anything you can do to kind of help improve that efficiency is going to help. But
absolutely. So the funny thing about me is I'm the 1,000 grain arrow guy, right? But if you really watch my videos, I say 550 all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I saw you do
Please get there perfectly flying. I say it all the time.
Yeah. And I've seen with the it was with elk shape.
In any basic shaft, you're about there, right?
Yep.
And so, Ben, how about you? What's your kind of background on this, or even hunting?
So for
or
me,
fishing.
Yeah. So for me, last year was my first year actually hitting hunting hard. Yep. Like I've been small game hunting my whole life. But for me, it's more like, okay, now it's time to go get some food. So I'm going to go after a little bigger animal. And as far as the arrow stuff goes, for me, it's a plan B, like you say, plan B arrow. So what if that deer takes a step after I shoot? What if it glances off the scapula? What if I need that extra power to break through and make sure that I make a good shot on it? Because I always want it to be a good shot, And if I'm shooting a flapper, like you say, it may deflect, it may hit that scapula and pop right back out, which is what I don't want. So for me, it's not on experience. It's on I'm going off of your experience and other guys like hunting public, and I'm seeing all that stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, I probably want to go that route because I don't want to have the just in case, what if I shoot a hypodermic or whatever, and it doesn't blow through.
Yeah.
I want it to pass through, and I want to have that, that confidence that it's going to do that. That's
Right.
where I'm at with it.
So let me address some of the stuff you said. And so I shot a ton of stuff with mechanicals. I even shot a black wildebeest in Africa with the original Rage, because the guide said, I was there with Magnus. I had 125 Magnus Stingers. And I killed a kudu, a black wildebeest, a couple of blessed bucks, shot a jackal, jacked around. The first thing I ever shot with a mechanical was a black wildebeest at about 26 yards, and I shot him right across the top of the heart. Blood shot out 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And buried the broadhead in the offside humerus. We had to cut it out with a damn saw. And I thought I had found the magic bow hunting bullet.
Yeah.
When they work, there's nothing like it.
Yep.
When they fail, there is equally nothing like it. Because when they fail, it's miserable. So I shot a ton of stuff with Max. It's like everybody acts like I don't have any experience with that stuff. And I've said this 1,000 times. People just listen to what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept having the weird, I don't know if y'all saw the video we did with the hunting public about the mechanical broadhead videos. They've seen hundreds of deer shot because they were camera guys before they were anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the only thing that matters, the broadhead doesn't have any hydrostatic shock. It doesn't have any extra killing capacity other than cutting as long a wound channel it can and exiting. And halfway is not exiting. You don't know what you missed if you don't get it all the way through.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? So if the broadhead only goes halfway in, what's on the other side that you missed? Because you missed. You stopped. It's a miss. It's just in backwards. And I'll give you another example since you said meat eater. So I went nilgai hunting with Giannis in February.
Yeah.
And nilgai are about 600 or 700 pounds. They're like an elk they're elk size. And he shot a nilgai hard quartering away with a 650 grain arrow. He's a long man. He's a big, tall, lanky, stressed out cat. He's probably pulling 31-inch arrows or something. I don't really care.
Yeah,
and he was shooting a single. He was shooting the Ranch Fairy 200 grainer. He got 40 inches of penetration measured with a tape from entry, and the broadhead was right here with the skin puffed up like a bullet. When a bullet sticks on the other side of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
The first half of the arrow's penetration is 40 inches. Okay, so that's 20. I'm not smart, but half of that's 20. Was guts. It did not hit the diaphragm until 20 inches of arrow had pushed into the animal. So the only killing the only short killing, the nilgai was 65 yards. The only killing part of the arrow's travel was the back half of the shaft travel. Mm-hmm. If he'd have left 20 inches of arrow in it, it looked real good because he only had this much sticking out.
Yeah, but it wouldn't.
So on camera, it'd have been like smoking. Except it's a 7-foot long animal.
Yeah.
From ass to nose, ass to chest, right? That was a really cool necropsy. We did a full necropsy on it. So we got to show, and we took a tape, and said, okay, the gut was huge. They have huge stomachs. He dead centered the guts, which were full of grass. It's a giant sandbag. 20 inches of penetration that touched the diaphragm. And from the diaphragm forward was where it died. He shot right between the lungs and cut the top of the heart off. If it would have never got there, he missed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well.
Yep.
That was impressive, right? That was really a cool, dare I say, validation.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. It was really cool to show that you got to get all the way through.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
And one of the questions I had here, I kind of wanted to play a little bit of devil's advocate because, there's going
do
to be
it, baby. Let's roll.
But so that kind of gets us into a little bit of FOC and arrow weight, obviously. And then I've heard other people say, my target arrows right now are about 460. And,
okay.
That's just lightweight, tack, 3D, 460.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably, with shot placement, not quartering away, maybe, but with shot placement in North America, could probably kill just about everything that we have.
There's no doubt it will.
So
millions of animals every year are killed, bears and stuff.
Yeah. So if I'm someone, here we are, we're Central Ohio guys. We're only going after whitetails. That's the biggest land animal that we have. Why do I necessarily care so much about a study that was performed primarily in Africa when we're talking about whitetails, clearly a much smaller, much smaller animal than anything that we're studying.
No, it's pretty simple. So the humerus and the ridge of the scapula are an inch thick, and you might hit that. So I'm plan B guy, right? Ben, you said this, right? We're not planning for plan A. I know for a fact that millions of animals are killed with the Twizzler stick, and elk too. 350 grain arrows these clowns are shooting elk with at 50 yards, and it's working. Okay? Fine. I understand that. When it all goes right. So I'm going to veer off the path, but I'm staying on the path. I get a lot of crap, primarily from the industry clowns, about shot placement. They say it's all shot placement. That's it. And with a Twizzler stick, you are correct. You have reduced the shot area that you can lethally kill an animal to perfect shot placement. And in perfect, it works. And I've never said it doesn't.
Yep.
But this thing, not everybody's great under stress.
Yeah.
And I get kind of pissed off. I don't get kind of pissed off. I get real pissed off at the pro guys who are spot shooters and the best shooters in the world. Yeah, they're bullies. They don't realize they're being third grade bullies, but they're the best shooters in the world. And they just say, well, you're not as good as me. Perfect shot placement. And they're full of crap because you know they hit them wrong and make some mistakes. And I'm not going to say his name. There's a guy who's a really good shooter who's 6'5", and I've seen him bonk some mule deer at 15 yards and have this much penetration on elk, and they're standing right in front of him. And he's got long arms, all the juice. Supposedly he knows how to tune the hell out of everything, and he's getting half an arrow into elk. And he's got everything going for him. He's big, he's long, so he's got the velocity, and he's a world-class shooter.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a few of those long, tall, lanky guys, so we'll just leave that out there to wonder who this is. But they all preach shot placement as the only pariah of it, and then we see them on video bonking stuff. Or getting 5 inches of penetration, but they happen to hit them in the heart with a mech, and they've got all the facts. What do we do with the short people? Yeah. What do I do with the girls?
Yeah, or the guy that's like shaking like this when he's drawing his bow.
There's the other point. The rest of us have some variability of this ability to put the arrow on target under stress.
Yep.
And then wind exists. It might be raining. You might have to piss.
Yep.
That's annoying. Or Taco Bell caught up with you and the deer comes out. So you got priorities mixed up here, right? You're about to fire one off the tree stand and here comes your deer. Okay? That just happens. Angles, Western hunting, up and down.
Yep.
You're more likely to make a mistake. It's not static. So what people do is they take their experience on the 3D range and they think they're hunting. Well, they missed about 10 shots. They just throw those out. Did pretty good today.
Like golfing.
Right. And Dan Stan, you can hate on me if you want, but the Elkshape guys did a video because I said, hey, what you should do is, especially if you're a spot and stalk, you should laser a target, walk 7 yards and shoot. But don't laser again, because that's going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going to draw on a mule. You're going to get ready to shoot a mule deer, and then he hops twice, and you're not relay. I mean, you might relaser. If you got that much discipline, that's fine. But 90% of people are shooting, so they're just going to go, yeah, that's about right. Well, practice. Yeah, that's about right. Learn the trajectory.
Yeah.
They did a video on that. Okay.
Yep.
They shot like
tip.
crap.
Mm-hmm.
Right. However, they kept judging. Well, I got a 5, and that arrow's like in the butt and stuff. I love you, Dan, but come on.
They ain't killing.
Right.
So, like, as much as people have had issues with like expandables in terms of like missing up front, shoulder, anything forward of the leg. I know some people have been saved. I've seen this from like the Seek One guys. They're getting really heavy into this broadhead testing as well.
Yeah.
They've equally been saved for rear shots because the cut radius is so much greater and you have less mass, if you will, in terms of hard mass to hit in that rear half. So they've been saved by tracking jobs with those. Like what kind of how, what's your thought on that?
So I met Lee and the gang at ATA, and that's fine. They also shoot, from what I can tell, you guys can call me and hate on me later, 400 spine untuned arrows.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their actual accuracy level is when you change your, and I got to explore this. Like, so let's just say you shoot on flat ground most of the time and you're in a perfect position. And I'm not making fun of anybody, everybody does this. And then you throw yourself up in a saddle and you're here and then you have to go like that.
Yeah.
It changes a lot of things. And if you're shooting a really light spine arrow to go super fast, I don't know the accuracy level of them, but I will not disagree because I had a friend who hit the side of the blind in Africa on a water buck, and it went right through the middle of him, and the damn thing deployed. And the guts popped out the hole, and they found it with a gyrocopter 200 yards away. So,
yeah,
the more I play with the Rocket Man, and the more aerodynamics I understand, and the better I grasp how to make a stick fly, which is amazing. Don't even get into it because you'll wonder how it ever happens. My argument would be tune your arrows, shoot whatever you want, but make sure the arrow set is consistent.
Yeah.
And I'm going to dive into this because you guys have a shop. I assume you play with bows for people?
Yeah, well, I had a question.
Okay.
I had a question about tuning shafts because that's something that Ben and I are super geeked out about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm about to step into that pile of dog crap. So what most people do in most of the shops, because it's the standard, I'm not knocking on the shops, is you take the bow, you're one of these bow twister guys who bends the cams and all that crap. Fine. I know that works. You can, hey, by the way, if you have a shop, you can do that with a 600 grain arrow too. And take people's money.
Yeah.
Because your job is to like get money, make margin, keep your business open. I mean, I run a $60 million P&L of 65 employees. I know a little bit about this. So you get the money, profit, and you keep your business open. So you could tune a heavy arrow, even though you hate this person, you think I'm an idiot, and make them happy, and they come back.
Yep.
Little retail tip there.
Yeah.
But backing up, the standard thing that I've always experienced, and I get a lot of people say, hey, we took this arrow, I ran through the bow, they built bent cams, switched the limbs, which I know works, and it shoots a bullet hole. And I say, okay, that's one arrow. You got 12 more.
Sure.
Did you shoot all of them?
No, of course
No.
not.
They said it was good. They're wrong. They're 100% wrong. The arrow spine, there's a couple arrows out there I understand now do not have a stiff side. I don't know what they are.
I think Easton has been promoting this like extrusion. Not every there's no like
Right, they're doing it like they're building them like monofilament. They're pushing them to a plate machine.
Yep.
I haven't shot them, so more to come on that because they can promise a lot of crap. But sure. I have found I will tell you this: spine alignment doesn't fix anything. It means they're consistent, but it's fit. I'll tell you this: it's about 50% more consistent if you spine align them through a Bram tester. Anyway, so for those listening, all shafts most 95% of shafts have a spine side that's stiffened. And as you rotate the shaft around, the stiff side rotates around, it shoots different. It will bend different off the bow. This is a fact. So if you take that one shaft and you tune the bow, you bend the bow to make it shoot that arrow, it shoots that arrow. Put 3 or 4 more on there and you're set. And see what happens. If they shoot fine, I'm not hating on you. But once again, adult arrows, go back and check them all. It's not a big deal. It's okay, hon. Come say hi to the guys. This is Mrs. Fowler. She keeps me in.
God bless
check.
you.
Have fun.
See ya. Have fun, dear.
God bless
30
her.
years of marriage, and somehow I'm still putting up with you. Yeah, right. Go make more money. Mrs. Fowler's lovely. She's awesome. So, you really need the set to be consistent. So going back to Lee and the guys, I don't know that they do that. I don't know that they don't, and I'm not knocking on them. I just know if you're average going to guess what the average person is doing, and they haven't heard of my idiot, stuff with tuning an arrow, then it's never been exposed to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to do it. They're not dumb or stupid, and they're not being lazy necessarily because they shoot the hell out of their bow. They just wonder why the broadheads shoot about like that.
You sure?
And they wonder why. They think that's as good as it's going to get, right? And if you don't get the shafts consistent, and I know it takes a lot of time with you guys. Y'all have a business to run. You got 9 people in line. This guy wants to sit here for 4 hours and piddle around with y'all. So it's a double-edged sword. So that's really kind of why I started the channel. Was I'm not really trying necessarily. I didn't envision helping the shops do this, but if y'all can sell them a bow and get their arrows, and then they see me and say, "Well, maybe I ought to twist a knob."
Yeah.
Right. Y'all made your sale. You don't have to. You want to help people. I know that, but you don't have 9 people you're trying to help do this, and their minds getting blown. Because it freaks people out.
Oh, sure. Well, and not everyone's a tinkerer too, right? So you're gonna have occasionally the guy or lady that comes in and wants to do that. But I think, I think it's important to say, like, people will look at your content and they'll be like, well, this is like you've said, a couple times already, this is a 1,000 grain arrow guy. Well, I find more value out of your content in terms of arrow. Like when you say adult arrows, I'm looking at not from I'm shooting a damn hammer on the front of my bow, but I'm shooting a arrow that flies true, and an arrow that's been tuned and it's been squared, and I'm getting the best stick that I can. Now what you put on the front of it, that's going to be your discretion. But in terms of, I've watched your video building, insert tuning. Mm-hmm. That's something I never even thought of prior to that.
No, that was Big Mike. He sent me a video of that. He showed me a shaft up close on his phone. I've only seen Big Mike's face twice. On video and stuff. I'll see his feet with his Crocs and stuff, and he'll say, "Fowler, you need to do this. Look at this." And he rotated and spin it and rotated and spin it. I literally went, "You got to be kidding."
Yeah.
And he goes, "That's me cutting them. I didn't shop cut them."
Yeah.
And you guys get busy, or a shop doesn't care. They just stick them in and send the people out the door. It's a little out of whack. Well, I will tell you this, though. Shh, don't tell anybody this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's a secret between us. A little wobbly broadhead doesn't really matter. An arrow that is not tuned from the ass end is a disaster because the string pushes it. That's another thing I never – I literally – took not tuned arrows and I have glue on broadheads, so I can make the glue kind of wobble.
Yeah.
Right. So I put some old school glue on broadheads on there, and they weren't wabbing, but they were you could see it. They shot fine. You put them on an untuned arrow.
Big difference.
A little crazier.
Well, and I had just picked up the G5 squaring device from Prime, or G5 Outdoors squaring device, because I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna test these arrows out. And I'm not going to say the brand that I shoot, but I shoot, I took the arrows. They were factory ends. I cut the front, everyone's the sticker and where you're going to cut, whatever. Well, these were all fine. I cut them off the front. They were straight enough. They're match grades. And then slide them over. And that knock end, no. Did a little Sharpie, squared it off. That's not grinding the way it should be grinding for an arrow that's a factory end that hasn't been cut. It was cut from the factory. And these are mass-produced things. So that little bit – now, is that going to make a difference maybe at 10 yards at a 100-pound
bow?
No. But we shoot tacks. If you're shooting a tack event, if you're shooting these really popular long-range 3D courses that Ben and I went and shot where you're shooting 50, 60, 70 yards in the woods, that makes a difference. It makes a big difference. And so that's where
it will make a difference at range, especially. I don't have this trouble because I'm shooting 17 or 18 yards because I'm studying broadhead performance and arrow performance and that kind of thing, right? But the scary part about that is I talk to a lot of the Western people, and they're not tuning their arrows, and they are intending to shoot 60. Yeah. At a big boned ass animal that's much bigger than a whitetail, it has a lot more plan B built into it. Per the comment with Giannis, you get a severe quartering elk, you better get all the shaft in him.
Exactly.
There's a lot of elk between the hips and the diaphragm. There's a shitload of elk. That's it's lethal 2 days later.
Yeah, and you don't need that.
It's a lot of money to spend and time to waste to go into the woods and I say bonk. Bonk generally means the arrow stops, but it's a bonk also if it penetrates 22 inches and doesn't get to the lungs. Right? You think you got him. I mean, it looks good. The fletchings are this far out because the hair's on it. It just looks beautiful, right? You're like, smoked. And you're just not thinking about the distance that shaft's got to travel when the animals get big, right? Yeah. I didn't address something. I spend a lot of time with Ed. Ed's awesome. Y'all should interview Ed.
I would love to.
I'll give you his number after this. Y'all should call him. He's the best damn guy. When you call him, people are like, hey, oh yeah, great. He's super great. He's, of all the people on the earth who should be able to say, screw you, I killed 2 rhinos, why don't y'all suck it, I'm right, he would never say that. He would never do that. He's so cool. One of the things about the buffaloes, you can't measure penetration on a pass-through. And the first time I thought about this was like, well, pass-through is what you want. And he said, no, stop, listen to me. For instance, on his point study, he did 6 arrows with point X. He did 6 different points, same broadhead, 6 shots each. And they needed to stop because you can't measure penetration of 2 or 4 inches different, right?
Yep.
So it's an algorithm. If the arrow flight adds 10% and the sharp broadhead adds 3 or 5, and the point gets you 4 or 7, all of a sudden you're up 40%, 35%. That's how it works. It doesn't work as if one thing makes it all happen. It's algorithmic. For 8 here, 2 there, 7 here, 9 there, your system just went up 27% better.
Yeah.
So that's why he shot the big animals, because if you shoot an impala, it's going to blow through with everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really tell you anything. And the first time he told me that, I was like, God, I never thought of that. He goes, yeah, we're talking about 2 to 3 inches different. We're not talking about foot or something that's dramatic.
Sure.
But then you said, Troy, when you start add the factors, we're actually going to build a scorecard for the Ashby Foundation. You can find the Ashby Foundation on the internet. Just put that in there and it'll be fine. And you can be able to score your arrow, like against all the factors, and see what percentage are that.
That'd be really
pretty
neat.
great.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be super cool. That'd be super cool.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of glad
fun.
you said that too a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with Nate Sellers. He does Average Jack.
Yeah,
archery.
I know Nate. I talk to Nate all the time. I used to talk to him. Yep.
Yeah, he has really good content, and he did the I just watched it last night actually, the Serious Archery demo pack. I don't know if you've seen that, but the demo, I don't know if they're still doing that.
Kit.
The test kit
Yeah.
with the 250 and the 300. So that was super. Yeah,
That's him.
That's why I'm bringing it up. And so I thought that was really interesting too. And we've said it a bunch, and I'm glad you just mentioned the factors, because it's not just the broadhead, it's not just the shaft, it's just not the tail end. It's the collection of the entire system, and I think that's what is important.
It's the whole bullet. It's the whole bullet, right? So, and then I'm going to start preaching this on I've got videos out to October because it's about to be real good fishing time, and I don't want to do archery. I'm going fishing. Screw elk hunting September. Oh, saltwater September. Woo! 30 days. Everybody else is like, I'm going elk hunting. I'm like, nah. Anyway, I want people to take 2 more steps. So, dare to bear shaft.
Yeah.
If I was going to suggest something if you're going to stay with a 420 grain arrow, cut the fletchings off, make it fly better than it flies now. Because, hell, I don't have an arrow.
I almost grabbed one out of the car.
For those watching, prepare for your mind to be bent sideways, because I'm about to tell you something that's going to scare you to death. Well, it should. So, when you launch your arrow, it's going to bend this way, or that way, or that way, or that way. We don't know because you didn't tune your arrows. Wow, it's bent too. Look at that. It's a terrible point. I must have bounced it off the side of a freaking deer feeder. Anyway, it's going to launch in some direction that you don't know, and it's 360 degrees. I'm only showing vert, down, side, and left. It could launch at 45-degree angle. Okay, your arrow launches down the range. It's doing this the whole time.
Yep.
The best study I found says that the arrow never stabilizes until 120 yards. It's never flying like this until 120 yards. It's always doing this a little bit.
It's correcting.
This is one of those things you've heard stiffer arrows do better because they tend to dampen a little quicker.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting a 400 spine out of 70 pounds, that son of a bitch is going like that. And then it's really going like this.
Yep.
But it gets worse because it's also rotating and wobbling. So if you ever wonder why your broadheads fly crazy, your arrow's doing this and it's going like that. It's literally doing this. It's going side to side and it's rotating. So it's literally got bends that are rotating as it goes around, and then it flips and bends to the bottom and it goes like that. Yep. And that's why the underspined arrows tend to be wild. So what they do is you put a mechanical on the front, you take the drag out of it. It does help. Field points are liars.
Yeah.
We can make all kind of great stuff happen with field points. Mm-hmm. When you put this on the front. So then the final thing on Aeroflight is it's actually not a function of drag this way with the fletching. It is a function of the point launches, despite the bent tip, and starts pushing in the air and it's rotating. So it's pushing, 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 pushing. And the back of the arrow is counterbalancing the push off the front.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the resonance, literally, of this gets out of whack with this, then it does that and it goes wherever it wants. If you put a lower drag device on the front, the mechanicals help. They're not super low. They're not as low drag as everybody thinks, but it's a good way to cheat your Aeroflight. I will admit that.
Sure.
Despite the impact problem, it's less drag on the front.
No, I'm glad you said that because I wanted to kind of see and I've kind of been a proponent of this as well. I've noticed an audible difference in a 4-fletch versus a 3-fletch. So I'm
the sound of it going down range.
Yep, the sound of it going down range through just off my ear as the bow launches, as well as just from some video footage I've had on the target.
Which one's louder?
I've heard that. I mean, from me and my experience, the 3-fletch was louder.
Mm-hmm.
But
absolutely.
I was also
6-fletch is even 6-fletch is quieter.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one thing.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
6 is.
And I picked that up from Dudley, but I also, which may have been the long lanky guy, but I digress. But I also switched vanes as well, so I went with a max stealth vane as opposed to your typical blazer vane that's traditionally pre-installed on shafts that you're buying that are fletched. So I think that may have made a difference as well. But what's your thought on the 4-fletch versus the heavy front end and that counterbalance effect as it's going down range?
So I'll take it from a noise perspective because you started there. So I shoot feathers most of the time. They're the loudest thing on earth.
Yeah.
So I've kind of said to screw that. And I would prefer to have a little bit more stability out of the 4-fletch, and that's an aerodynamic fact, than worry about the sound.
Okay. So
people get on this, I stopped going on the message boards about 4 years ago because it just gets, freaking insane, right?
Yeah.
And not that you can't change people's opinions. Some of the stuff that people say is just like, wow, you're really not thinking. But the 4-fletch is, you can actually cut your vane size down and put a 4-fletch on there and kind of end up with the same total surface area, but it's more stable because there's more vanes.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something, shoot taller short vanes.
Okay.
Like a Max Hunter or something.
Target.
Yeah, let's say like a Max.
Yeah, right.
Max Hunter.
Go taller. The Rocket Man. There's some crazy stuff that goes on in the boundary layers as the arrow flying through the air. You do not want to go there. But the unstable air is relatively about half the height of a blazer.
Okay.
And you want the unstable air biting on the fletchings. Enough said. Go taller and shorter. If you're with all vanes, 3 or 4.
So that would be a
4-fletch.
perfect Max Hunter vane because it's got that profile of the height, but it's also got the less surface area because it's smaller and width.
And that's pretty well confirmed in the model rocketry industry as well.
Okay.
Is there any merit to putting turbulators in front of the fletching? I read about that in Ashby's.
Yeah, we haven't confirmed that.
Okay.
We think it's, if you don't bear shaft, no.
Yeah.
So even Ed would say that, right?
Yep.
Ed would say that. So the turbulator thing is interesting. So there's a bound. I'm going to go here a little bit. There's a layer of molecules of air that ride the shaft the whole time. They literally pull along, and then there's a progression of slowly moving, and then they get up to full speed. It's really interesting science you do not need to read about. And don't email me about this. I don't want to talk about it. But the theory is that the turbulator will break up the boundary layer and create unstable air in front of the fletchings, allowing it to push better. You want unstable air around the fletchings, actually. Mm-hmm. You do not want laminar flow.
Yeah.
So the theory behind the turbulator is it'll break up that boundary layer and lower this boundary layer and create more turbulence. The fletchings have more leverage.
Yep.
As they do this, right?
Now, for the people that are listening and not watching, could you explain what a turbulator is? Because we know, but
yeah, right. So you could use paint, but most commonly it's just a piece of. I use electric tape.
Yeah, I would say
and
sticker material.
You stretch it around the shaft. You know when you see a guy with woodies and he's painting them on a spinner and they're all pretty and stuff, one of those wraps that he's painted on there, so about an inch in front of the fletchings, you'd put a piece of tape. You could put a thick bead of paint. You could actually spin them if you have a spinner. Something to break up a
vinyl,
wind coming to it.
You did a vinyl sticker.
I did.
Yeah, you cut your own sticker on the Cricket or whatever, didn't you?
Yeah, I cut vinyl strips, basically like pinstriping vinyl
Yeah, sure,
tape.
of course. Pinstriping stuff will work. A wrap actually does it. I don't like wraps because it adds tail weight, and you don't want tail weight. Mm-hmm. I do shoot lighted nocks because you can see them, blah, blah, blah. So,
you gotta do it for the
watch
videos.
Me out on that. Yeah, I actually, despite the forward to center thing, I'm a big fan of the lighted nocks because you get to see what the arrow's doing.
Yeah, me too.
I think they're worth the tail weight. They're worth that and if you'll knock tune with them,
yes,
then your arrows will fly with them, which I highly recommend because they're heavier. Okay, you change the stick if you change them.
Yep.
But I think they're worth the value.
We kind of lost you there for a second, but I want to continue this conversation about lighted nocks because I had what did we shot a thing and I told you I was going to rip. Oh, I got the square. Sorry. Now I know where I'm thinking. I got the G5 squaring device and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and square my point in because I know that those are probably off. Just it's what a saw is. So I fixed that and I was like, I went ahead and I started doing my knock-ins. And I run wraps just because I like to run the wrap. So if I have to refletch the arrow, we're shooting a lot of 3D and stuff. If I hit the vein, cut a vein, then I don't have to strip the arrow, cut carbon, and blah, 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 blah. So I just peel the sticker off and I'm good to go.
Because you're that good. You cut veins all the time.
No. Once in every like 50. I have Robin Hood before, and I have that sitting on my headboard to the begrudgment of my wife. I do have my Robin Hood sitting on our headboard. Hopefully it will fall down and hit me sometime. But I do like that. But I went ahead and started squaring. And I was like, dude, I'm already getting like uneven cuts. And I texted you. I was like, or something where we were like, where are you at with it? I'm like, I ripped them all apart and I'm starting all over from scratch. It's like bare tune. Like I'm not even gonna mess with shooting with the field points. We're a month away from season. I'm just gonna throw my lighted nocks on there, throw my broadheads on there, and I'm gonna start tuning from this point forward for hunting. And so I know what's kind of your thought on the lighted nocks. I know you kind of have you're all right with them. I mean, from the video perspective, but it all comes down to
my opinion is they are not as accurate as stock. They never will be. No. Okay. And the most accurate one I've shot is the Luminok.
The Luminok, okay.
Because they use stock nocks.
Okay.
And changing your knock can be a big deal. It's amazing, actually. Go buy two different kinds of knocks and shoot them and see what happens. Shoot a group shoot them, and it's pretty crazy. If you shoot lighted nocks, initially put the lighted nock in the same nock tuning position that you nock tuned with stock and fly a broadhead. Just don't even worry about the rest of it. Yeah, if you mark your shaft and follow the Ranch Fairy crazy strategy here to get your arrows consistent, put the nock in the same position, shoot a fletched arrow, and just put a broadhead on and fire it. Just jump it. There's no reason to fiddle around field points, because if the broadhead doesn't fly, what I would do is I'd pull the broadhead back and I'd rotate the nock with the lighted nock in there with a broadhead. Remember, it's a different lifting mechanism. So we're getting the field points to shoot really good, but they're kind of liars. You have to shoot broadheads with fletched arrows. If you do everything that I tell you and you're all in on the fairy dust and you don't shoot broadheads, you're not all in on the fairy dust. Check everything. That's why I say adult arrows. I first started talking about adult arrows for the weight and stuff, and it's still funny. And sharp broadheads don't break and nothing bends. Got that. But the adult thing really is that you take some responsibility for your ammunition.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that because I want to clear that up.
Yeah, most of us clowns have shot rifles. And if you actually do buy 7 boxes of ammo and actually run it through your rifle, something will shoot. And other stuff will shoot fine. And it will give you a 300-yard gun, but there's no reason not to put the ones that, like I got a rifle out here, it's a 30-06 that loves 165 grain core locks. Like the cheapest crap, those bullets are great. I've killed so many animals with them, but it doesn't like the premium stuff and it hates the Barnes type stuff. It just won't eat them. They shoot like that. But then you put the core locks in there and it's just like when you make a mistake, it makes a mistake. But when you don't, it do and just drives it. I'm not going to bitch with the gun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got to shoot your broadheads and fletched, and then quit bitching about the arrows because they're not perfect yet. Keep going. Just keep going. Just own it. It's not an easy sport.
No.
Bows are offhand. Everyone releases different. None of the bows shoot the speed everybody says they do. That's one of the reasons I came out with a test kit. One was I found my experience with messing with different spines and moving the points around was a cool way to tune. Like it bends the arrow different every time. Your dynamic spine changes every time you change the point. Mm-hmm. It doesn't stay at 300. It bends different. That being said, I'm dealing with every platform on earth. I've got guys shooting Q2 Matthews single cams, and then I got guys shooting like my Expedition is screaming fast.
Yeah.
I mean, when you pull her back, she's like a damn greyhound in a gate. If you twitch, she's like it'll jump you if you twitch a little bit. I just got the hunting public bow. Y'all should sell that thing. It's awesome.
We do. We have it.
Shout out to Vance. We do.
Get it because that thing's badass. It just shoots arrows. It's soft, easy, good back wall, and boop, and it just pushes the projectile. It's a kinetic energy spring. But you got that bow, and then you got guys shooting these super fast bows. The spine's not the same at 70 pounds. I don't care what you say.
Yep.
So you could get away with a 300 on that softer shooting bow, same poundage. And if you don't believe me, just do it. Buy 2 arrows and get 5 bows and run them all through the bow.
It's going to be different.
Back to the adult arrow point. It's what's killing the animal. So take the responsibility and take the time to tune the arrow. Doesn't matter what kind of bow you have.
No, it doesn't.
Spend money on your arrows and make sure they're good because that's what's doing the job. You know,
it doesn't at all. I mean, we got cut out on Sarah's, Cape Buffalo, but there was another lady who Rob Nielsen built her arrows. She shoots 850 grains at deer and everything else. She just doesn't know any different anymore. She's 55 pounds. She's 27-inch draw. She's got pins to 40, and she shot an Asian buffalo here in Texas facing her right there, and it penetrated 7 feet. Yep. It tried to go out its butthole and hit the pelvis.
Yeah.
Yep.
At 20 yards. And we've got YouTube videos of people bulking deer and saying smoked them.
Yeah.
It's a deer.
Yeah.
They're this wide.
Yeah.
How the hell can you not shoot through a deer? And then those people, it's just, people haven't spent as much time thinking about this crap. I just have a scientific mind.
There's a bravado. There's a bravado too about like shooting an 80-pound bow or some people, I'm not gonna name any names, but like a 90-pound Hoyt hammer. It's like, yeah, okay, it's faster. But when you got people shooting a 50-pound draw weight bow with a 800 grain arrow and getting 7 feet, it's like, and then you got the people that are shooting 80-pound bows and they're pulling it like this, and they're tearing their
Yeah.
rotator cuff out, and it's like,
Well, what's funny about 80 pounds is, and this is going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, because the arrow's got to fly and it's got to shoot a certain velocity. Okay. I mean, it's going, whatever velocity it is going to fly. The faster you go, the drag quadruples.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fact. If you would like
Yep.
to search the internet and look that up, feel free. This is not a lie. The faster you go, the more drag it creates. And that's in the air, and that's on the meat. And the way people compensate is they go 80 and they go real light and they're shooting super fast and it's getting sucked away. I've got a video on this, and I was blown away that my bow shooting 294, a 388 grain arrow, lost 35 feet per second and 60 yards. It landed at 250.
and I watched that one. I think I also
There's
saw
not
that
a guy
one.
on earth who shoot a 250 foot per second bow.
Yeah.
But they're shooting 60 and hitting the elk at 250 feet per second. It's all a bunch of BS. And I was blown away. Rocket Man's like, we got to figure this out. We got a lab radar. It don't lie. It's just a stupid machine. Just measures whatever's flying in front of it. Missiles, bullets, it doesn't care. Right?
And I saw that on Dan's video too, with the elk shape, the little that little gathering, if you will, that he does, a little event that he puts together, and you had the guys
camp,
in it,
like the elk-shaped camp.
yeah, the camp.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you had
I went to Elk Shape and I talked about it. Yeah.
and you had that chart where it showed like arrow weight from, like, I think, like you said, 386, 380 something up to the 700, 710. And then the kinetic energy difference at 60 yards, and kind of that middle ground where the chart kind of seemed to flatten down a little bit. And for people listening, that was right in that 550 to 650 grain
That's correct.
spot. So, I mean, there's some data there to kind of back that point.
Well, to clarify what he's talking about, if you're not listening, or you can look on my channel for kinetic energy at 60 yards and momentum at 60 yards and arrow speed at 60 yards. I've done all three of them. What we found was that people don't understand this. Your bow is a constant kinetic energy tool. It doesn't have more kinetic energy. That's hard to grasp. But the difference between 388 grains going 294 and 710 grains going 220 is 2.5 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. And the heavy arrow is the winner. If you want to split freaking hairs and go for 3%, fine. 700 grain. But it was a constant kinetic energy curve. It's basically a flat line. But at 60, the curve goes uphill. The 388 grain arrow left the bow at 77 and landed at 60 yards with 53 foot-pounds of kinetic energy on target. And the 700 grain arrow launched at 78 and landed at 65.
Wow. Yeah.
Last I checked, that's about 24% better on-beat impact energy if you're a KE guy. It's just facts. And that blew me away too. It's amazing. So you're talking about a super slow, super low energy. We don't have 2,000 pounds of kinetic energy to move around like a bullet. That's why people's heads get mixed up on this, is they've read a lot of gun. Most of us come from the gun world, right? Mm-hmm. So you read all about this. You got 2,200 pounds of kinetic energy or whatever. It's outrageously overwhelming. And you start having bullet fragmentations and stuff. You got to get harder bullets to compensate for that. I have a friend, just as a side note, who shoots a 300 Weatherby. It mains on one end and kills on the other. You do not want to zero that bastard. God, it freaking kicks like a mule. But when he shoots over 300 yards, he shoots a soft bullet because barns won't expand. They slow down too much. He likes the barge bullet inside of 300 yards because it will expand. But at long distance, it stays together like a full metal jacket. Or, well, yeah, bullet. But a soft bullet, I think he shoots Game Kings. I saw him shoot a mule deer 460 yards with it, and it just collapsed. And the bullet just perfect. But if you shoot them soft points close, they explode. They're going way too fast. So you run into that. Coming back to archery, we're shooting a super slow, low energy system. If you can gain 10 or 15% on target KE and momentum, you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple, but it's just, It's never been explored. I'm lucky that I have the mind I have because I think that stuff's fun. I'm getting old, and like I said, I don't have the red ass anymore. I'd rather go fishing. But the science stuff is awesome.
Yeah,
and it's totally practical. People can make fun of me and all that stuff, and I don't care. If people knew my give a shit factor is about 0, and I knew what I was getting into by kicking everybody in the balls, it's fine. I really don't give a shit. And people say, well, you're just being provided. No, you don't. I'm not normal. I am way not normal. So to give you an example, I just charted the world record trout in 5 different bays, the 2 world record snook, and the largest black bass and my 10.5 that I caught this year. They all happened on the full moon, within 5 days of the full moon or 5 days of the dark of the moon. 10 different world records and my 10.5 that I caught this year in May. I don't bed fish. That's for chicken shits. But that's the kind of weird stuff I think about. So I'm kind of a perfect disaster for archery.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like for archery, you kind of have to be, if you're getting down to this stuff and you're just not a guy that just wants to go shoot something and you take what the pro shop gives you, again, 1,000% fine.
Yeah.
This is a very quicksand-ish, if you will.
Yeah, it's a black hole.
It's a black hole, man.
Yeah,
You'll get sucked in.
And that's why I'm hoping people will just watch my channel, open their minds, and just say,
yeah.
what if he's right? Mm-hmm. And I've got all the data. We've done the lab radar stuff. We're about to discuss. There's a big thundering bunch of BS going on the internet right now about people are shooting they've gone ranch fairy and then they shoot a foam target. And the performance on foam is the same. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You know what targets do? They stop
They're
things.
made to stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Gel is made to stop it.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see, unless your target's kind of shot up. If in a perfectly good foam target, you're going to see constant penetration because the velocity is higher in the lower mass projectile. It's on target at like 20 yards. The drag goes up a lot. The slower heavy projectile is slower. It also gets sucked up, and they penetrate about this much different. 700 grains and 400.
Yeah.
And people say, okay, Ashby's wrong. He's completely wrong.
I mean, that's what that thing's supposed to do.
We're getting ready to do a video. That's what Ward was bitching at me last week about a camera and stuff. And Warbritton and I and Rocket Man are going to do a video on this. There's this thing called the Poncelet equation that you do not want to play with because you have to use all the weird buttons on the computer. Nobody knows how to use those calculators that have all the buttons that we don't use. You use plus and minus and divide, and that's it. Well, Rocket Man knows how to use that crap. And we're going to explain why foam targets give those results. And some people wrote a couple of pretty big papers and stuff, and there was a bunch of rattling I heard about on Facebook about it, but I'm an idiot, and Ashby's an idiot, and none of it matters. And they did a great job, actually. They did a great job. I mean, they proved constant penetration on foam. They just didn't realize what they were doing. Their jump was, if we see this on foam, it matters on animals. They immediately made that. It's a big jump, okay? Yeah. Here's the trouble, and I'll say this on Warbritton's video as well. Just go to YouTube and watch 1,000 people. Just scroll forward and watch the shots and tell me that it's constant penetration every time. Tell me that.
Yep.
It's not.
No.
It's not.
No.
Mechanicals, fixed, heavy, light, whatever. It's not always this far in or pass through.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
That's not one
or
the other.
Yeah, they're constantly moving. They don't stop. You could hit, as soon as you shoot, it's taking a step. You don't know. It's
well, it's more than that. The target matters. So the foam target's designed to stop stuff. They're homogeneous. They're all the same material. They're pretty thick.
Exactly.
And if they didn't stop arrows, people wouldn't sell them.
You wouldn't buy them, right? Yeah. That's kind of the point.
I got a call coming in, so just let the beeping go by. Sorry, everybody, there's beeping. So when you go to an animal, there's all kind of randomness in animals. All the bones are curved. They're round. Nothing. It's not Minecraft.
Yeah.
A target is Minecraft. It's perfectly square and designed to stop stuff. So we'll cover that. We're going to go on a deep dive. The Rocket Man's all happy. He's all jumping around. He's done 6 pages of equations. He's going to come show me today. And I'm going to sit there and act like I know what the hell he's talking about.
But
and then
we'll
move on.
You're just like, I just want to see it.
Did you see that delta sign right there? That is it. I don't know. Swing. I got a pig to shoot this afternoon, Barnett. Shut up.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Can you tell me in the blind?
Yeah, right. We'll talk about it in the blind when sitting there for 3 hours.
Well, we've bounced around quite a bit. Which I knew we were going to. Like I said, I made the disclosure in the beginning of this episode that we were going to bounce around because there's just so much to talk about and so much to get out of the box. But if you're still listening, thank you. And
yeah, right.
I want you to.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if you're someone that's interested in this, obviously you can go to your YouTube channel and watch the videos, and we'll give you an opportunity to pitch all that. But it's going to be kind of self-explanatory.
Yep.
If I'm someone that, you know what, I'm like kind of like myself, I'm still tinkering.
Yeah.
What is the most important thing someone can do to start today? And I'm not talking to go out and buy a 200 grain silver single bevel broadhead. Just what's the most important thing that someone can do to kind of start chipping away at those 12 factors and making the most efficient killing device that they can?
Cut the fletchings off your shaft and try to figure out if you can make it fly.
Okay.
And then do it for the whole set. If you can't do that, then if you don't fletch or the shop's 2 hours away, I get that, right? And money gets in the way, but this isn't a cheap sport. So I'm sorry. I get a lot of messages, and you can see people's titles and you can kind of guess where they're at financially and stuff. And it sucks because it would be helpful if you had about $1,000 a year to just throw away on archery, and you could really learn a ton, but you can't. But you really should cut the fletchings off your arrows and shoot them about 7 yards into a target. The target has to sit still. You can't move or you'll go crazy. If it twitches a little bit, you'll never get a true reading. So just put a weight on top or a bag of cement or something. And it has to be level with you. Don't shoot downhill because it'll give you false readings as well.
Okay.
And try to work on your arrow flight. I don't care what weight you're shooting. And then the second would be, you really should go to fixed. I prefer I'm inexpensive. I love Mike Summit Magnus. I sell super premium stuff that's $100 for 3. I got that, but I love Mike because it's a great broadhead. They don't break. I've killed a ton of stuff with them. You can buy them anywhere. They're $40. Then they'll get you there. So get the arrow flying, fletch it up, and shoot a broadhead and get it flying. Those are the 2 things. The arrow flight sucks. I said it earlier, and it sucks. It's a bitch to do. It'll make you crazy. And then you'll find out how much torque you're putting on the bow or whatever. A few bear shaft things. If you're tinkering around, and let's say you change from 100 to 125 grain points because you have them, which is fine. That's a big change, right? And the arrows do the same thing all the time. Let's say they go left. Change your grip first.
Yeah.
Just move your hand around. You'll be amazed what'll happen. And your bow may be torque sensitive. There's a bunch of stuff out there. I'm not really a brand guy, so this isn't like a bashing thing, but I get 1,000 messages a month, and Matthews is very, very popular. Okay, so, right, I don't care. There's some of their bows shoot fine. But the VXR and what the hell's that one that nobody can shoot? The Z7 from a long time ago. That thing's a piece of crap. It's just crazy. It shoots all over the place. Whatever has top hats. I honestly don't care, and I don't know, and I'm not going to read about them. But a lot of people have top hat problems. They need to flip them, whatever that means.
Yep. Yeah, Andrew had those.
Right. And if y'all get somebody who comes in, can't bear shaft from Matthews, the top hats, flip them. That'd be my first step. I know people who, a lot of messages say, you have top hats? Yeah. Flip them, see what happens. And then all of a sudden they say, dude, that was like magic. I don't even know what that, I guess that's like shimming.
It's like a spacing, shimming back and forth.
That's
fine.
Yep. That tells you how much I care or know about this, and I don't care. But if the Matthews products, a few of the really fast short ones, really are kind of finicky on grip pressure. So you just have to work on it. If you bought one of them and you got the sexy 28-inch bow, are you kidding me?
I had a 27. So
Yeah, they can be hard to tune for an average person, right? There's some great shooters out there, real consistent, but on the bow side, and I ride people about this all the time. They'll buy a $1,400 bow and cheapest arrows they can find. Buy the hunting public adapt and buy $600 arrows.
available at yes,
Let's do this.
which is available at Vance Outdoors.
Yeah, right. Go to Vance Outdoors, get you a hunting public adapt, and shoot some great arrows, right? Get these guys to help you shoot great arrows. But the arrow flight first, and then get a cut on contact to fly, and then behind that, sharpen.
Yeah.
Those are the big three.
And I don't want to go down another rabbit hole again. I know we're trying to wrap it up, but I picked up the Innovative Outdoorsman. I can't think of his name. The Stay Sharp guides.
Yeah.
The Stay Sharp guides. And last year I ran the Hypodermics, and I was like, I'm gonna give it a try for $20. What's the heart? What's the hurt? I'm gonna try a sharp. Man, oh man, did it make a difference? Like,
it makes a huge difference. If you'll get a
was,
strop or a leather belt or something and just go backwards with them, they're
you could
scary.
See it. I mean, what I do like about his videos is that he uses the microscope and does the magnification like 1,600 times to show you, like, this is what this head looks like with a factory grind, and this is what it looks like after. And with that hypodermic, I could visually see, you could see how the curve of the grind isn't. They're mass producing these things, and so they're not going to spend as much time. They got to make them cheap for people to buy, and which I understand. But man, you just take a little bit of time, or even my Montex, so for the fix, I just have some G5 Montex, 3-blade, 125 grain tips, which is something that we sell and we carry, and it's easy and it's cheap and
easy to sharpen.
Super easy to sharpen.
Yep.
And just run it. Just run it over a little. Go to Home Depot and get yourself a 1,000 grain sandpaper or a 2,500, and just kind of run that thing and just sharpen it a little bit. It makes a world of a difference.
That's when when we came out with the Ranch Fairy 3-blade this year, the 200 grain 3-blade that I'm promoting. Yep. I did that because it's another step. So if I can get you to step to a solid head, right? It's not a bone breaking head. I got that. But if I can get you off of some flim flam 100 grain thing that's going to bend on you, and you step up to that thing, you can literally set 2 edges on a flat surface and sharpen it. You've now gotten sharp and you've gotten super durable.
Yes.
Yep.
They're kind of idiot proof, and I'm not trying to be mean. Sharpening single levels and double levels is an art, and it's a pain in the ass. It took me 6 months to figure it out, to really figure it out. Now I can do it just barehanded and strop it, and they're terrifying, but there was a lot of frustration. It was really, really frustrating. You really have to spend some time doing it.
Especially chasing the burrs and on the single bevel, breaking the edges off and really going at it.
The best place for that is to go to the woodworking world and look at their chisel sharpening videos. That's where I learned how to do it. Yeah, the woodworking guys have to get those edges perfect so they can make these great pushes with these very thin pieces of wood coming off, and they're master sharpeners. They'll show their stock super expensive thing and it's curved, the blade's curved. They're like, can't do that.
Yeah.
It's got to be flat. Like the hand tool's got to work. They can't skip around or wobble or it ruins my woodworking. And these guys are making bedposts by hand.
Yeah.
Right, with grooves in them and stuff. It's super good. That's a great place to go learn. There's a lot of sharpening channels. I've done a few things, but I'm not going to go into the detail. It's already out there.
Yeah.
There's a certain point where I just go, okay, I just say the content's out there. I'll do the nerd stuff, boundary layers and turbulators. Woo!
I love it. Well, Troy, it's been entertaining, man. I knew it was going to be. We'll let you get back some of your morning, but we're planning on going to ATA this winter. So hopefully you're there, and hopefully we can meet up again and nerd out over some turbulators.
I hope those guys will let me present again. I presented last year, and they gave me. I had like 100 people show up. I was pretty surprised at the crowd. I had a lot of the industry guys sitting there like that. Well, and I just presented the kinetic energy stuff. I mean, it was, I didn't go off the rails, but sure. I asked them I think they're going to do like a master class, kind of thing.
Okay.
That'd be cool. I've asked them if I can speak and talk about aero, Big Jake, wobbling in the air, consistency.
Sure.
Just as a last thought, I think the top guys in the world know all this stuff, and I might have popped the balloon.
Yeah, I could see it.
I think they know. They've got a nocturne. I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of the top spot shooters bear shaft and don't talk about it. And I know for a fact, because I've got friends who are pretty good spot shooters, that they shoot nibs that are 200 grains, but it's in the shaft. They glue them in. You can't tell.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies here shoots a Fast Matthews and shoots the old 3-inch wide, whatever, mechanical for deer hunting, but his target bow is 40 inches long. He shoots feathers and a 200 grain point. And I asked him one time, I said, why the hell are you shooting that? He goes, it's more accurate. And I went, you gotta be kidding. You shouldn't have said that to me. You just told me it's more accurate. And he went, oh shit. He's just digging a hole and jumping in there looking for a shovel. I was like, it's more accurate. You think so? Oh, went like that, right?
Yeah.
Hilarious. But he's got the glue in point. So the point's only about that long. But inside the shaft, he won't let you pull his arrows and stuff. Like, you can't pull his arrows. I pulled one of his arrows and I went, whoa, 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 whoa. What
feels a little heavy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing,
so much fun.
I was going to say, the other thing about shooting spots and shooting targets and stuff is that some of those guys aren't even tuning their bows, period. They're just looking for groups. They're not looking for, like, if it shoots left consistently or if it shoots a group this way consistently, like, that's all they're really caring about. They're not necessarily, and I've heard, like, people like Chris B and other people talk about that too. It's just like, I'm not trying to make something that's shooting in like a hunting situation where it has to be dead perfect. As long as it's shooting in the same spot all the time, a lot of those guys are probably shooting
because it's 20 yards, right? It's 20 yards. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That might be, but I don't believe them. I don't think you're the top guys in the world and you're just some sloppy ass guy who says, well, they shoot pretty close together. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't. I mean, I have been privileged to be around some world-class unknown fishing and hunting people who do not want to be known. And they are weird. Until you listen to why they're weird. I just fished with the guy who has the IGFA all-tackle world record for snook. Pink leader. Pink. It's transparent. Pink. And snook love rattle traps. I love throwing a rattle trap because any dumbass can do that.
Yeah.
You just pencil grinder it until the rod blows out of your hand. We got all these fancy plastic lures. You got to hold your mouth around and kind of go like this, you know. He's like, nah, hell, throw the rattle trap. I got a chrome rattle trap. Woo! Going as far as you can. Yeah! But he made us throw pink leader.
Yeah.
And that's his deal. But he has the IGFA all-tackle world record. There's a guy in South Texas who fly fishes. He has the state record for speckled trout at 14 or 15 pounds, which is a monster sea trout in Texas. And he's a fly fisherman. He sight casts the damn thing floating in the boat. You want to talk about a weird guy? He can only fish when the sun's up. You got to be able to see.
Yeah.
He's got 3 IGFA world records for line class, but he has the all-tackle Texas record with a fly rod and a fly by bad big.
That's awesome.
And he's sight caster. He's got some wacky stuff going on, and I bet you, I need to go sit down with him. He's 84 years old. You need to mine that data, right? If he'll tell you.
Yeah, sure.
But he probably knows stuff about the bait and the moon and the tide and some stuff people say that doesn't matter. Well, he has the state record. So something, I don't think he was just whipping it out there, you know, woo, one day, wow, that was an accident. There's no friggin' way that happened.
Yeah.
So I think that some of the guys who say they just pick their bow up and shoot it, that's what I would say, because I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's only 6 or 7 of them that make any money doing it. The rest of them are just a bunch of bad guys slinging around, right? And they spend a bunch of money and show up and they don't win. It's just true. There's no money in archery that way. It's not like golf where the 25th guy makes 50 grand.
Oh, sure,
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It just isn't. Yeah. There's no money there. You got to be the top 3. So I don't believe it. And if it's true, I'm sorry, but I'm a conspiracy guy on some of this stuff because of some of the wacky people I've met. I've got a friend who who believed that he needed to look like, he was a really kick-ass fisherman, and he thought it would be better if he looked like the sky, so he wore blue all the time and painted his truck like the sky. Doug Hannon, I don't know if you know who that is. He was the original bass professor. He died about 10 years ago, but he wrote some books on big bass fishing. His boat was camouflage, and he rode this little front steer 12 or 15-foot aluminum John boat that was super quiet, and he had all these crazy ideas. And at one time, he had more 10-pound bass than anybody on the earth. And I think those people that do this wacky stuff, they know it works, and they've done it, and they can prove it, and they just go, I'm tired of the bullshit. So they just disappear.
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't tell us. There's a guy, and I'll stop talking here in a minute, but hang on. There's a guy with the Ashby Foundation who doesn't want to be known. He's a quiet guy who shoots 700 plus grain arrows. He's an elk killing machine. He killed 3 bulls in like 21 days in 3 different states last year. He shoulder shot one and it broke it.
Wow.
It went down, wham, like a rifle, and it went down. He does not want to be known. He doesn't want to get in the message boards. He doesn't want to hear people say, I killed an elk with a 200 grain Twizzler stick. He just doesn't give a shit. Because there's more to that than just the shooting.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch is good. I bet he's got some wacky ass ideas about killing it, but he wants to hear.
Yeah.
That's my little. I'll get off my soapbox now and leave.
Well, brother, it's been entertaining. I knew it would be. I look forward to talking to you some more, and getting together and bouncing ideas off you as we continue to make the best flying stick that we possibly can. So
I'll be at ATA if y'all, if we don't talk to y'all before, which I'm sure I will. But then send me critter pictures because I'll put them on my Instagram just to prove that it happens. That's one of the most fun, rewarding things about my life is I don't like to kill them, but a lot of people do. So I post all these pictures from other people doing stuff on Instagram or wacky hits or broken shoulder blades. And we all have the video that I posted. You all may not have seen it, but Warb cut the humerus ball in half on a big ass whitetail. That was the deer you want.
Yep.
That was not a doe or some spiker or something. That was a big deer, physically big deer. A little bit of oops, still split the humerus ball. 650. He had 11 factors.
Yep.
He sent me that video about 5 minutes after he shot that deer, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "The arrow is solid in him. It isn't shaken. He's dead. No blood trail." Deer went 60 yards.
That's awesome.
If you watch that video, if you ever watch it again, you can see the dog.
I'll have to go back.
Because he said, we don't know. Everybody else is saying it's a bonk, and I'm saying the deer's dead. You got penetration to the other side. Because the shaft went with the deer like that. It didn't. If it's wiggling like this, that's usually means it's on the outside.
Yeah.
But in the video, if you watch the detail, the dog lady comes up, and the dog goes like this. He's got the deer already. Because it went downhill, and it was wet and warm. They'd see the dog go like that. Then they turned the dog loose, and whoop, there it was. So pretty fantastic. Okay, I'll shut up now. If you're living under a rock, literally just go Google Ranch Fairy. But for those people that like to look, where can everyone find you at? You just said it, so my name's unique enough that if you put it in Google and it doesn't get lost because nobody wants to be a ranch fairy in the tough guy archery world, bodybuilding and all this stuff. And then on Instagram, I'm the Ranch Fairy, and then on Facebook. I once had a Ray Ranch Facebook, WRAY, and then I put Ray Ranch Fairy, and it got all tangled up, and I don't care.
Yeah.
So WRAY Ranch Fairy, and you'll find me. And I also if you try to friend me, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to change the account or something, and I can get more followers, and I just haven't. It's been 2 years. So don't take it personal. I'm not one of those guys. I just don't care. And it's not because of you. Yeah. I should do it. I mean, it doesn't hurt my presence to have 25,000 people on Facebook. But I got to get that pink mono. I got to get that pink mono and those knots working, man. I mean, that's priority.
Yeah. What about the Ashby Foundation? You want to plug that a little bit?
Sure. So you can go to Ashby, bowhunting.org. Just type in Ashby Foundation in the Googler. So we have all of Ed's study up. It's very intensive reading. You won't just read it in an hour. There's lots of detail. We also have 2 supplemental reports that came up. So last year was the first Ashby style test on Cape buffalo that were downed with modern equipment.
Okay.
The results have not changed.
Good.
Except the Ashby approved 1,000 grainer with 30%, because we tried to get a 30% FOC arrow. He said 30% was like magic. So for a compound, you really got to spine up and really load the front to get the forward to center up. The first Cape buffalo that Rob shot live, like he was hunting, the arrow they never found. The trackers couldn't find it. So that's a 30-inch wide skin to skin animal that's built like a tank, and the arrow is gone. It's still there. But the results of the test then and the results of the test this year are mimicking what Ed found with the longbow, even with the velocity up.
That's awesome.
One of the coolest parts, and like I said, I'll shut up eventually. Rob's wife would not shoot a Cape buffalo. She shoots 43 pounds at 25 and a half inches. 39. She thinks deer are funny. She just shoots them. She laughs. She shoots 575 grain arrows, but on that test, they had 750 grainers at 31% for her bow. And at 20 yards on rib cage hits on a down Cape buffalo, she put the broadhead to the other rib cage 5 times in a row.
Wow.
That arrow isn't going 170. And the arrow penetrated, the broadhead hit the other side of the rib cage. So again, I said earlier, you miss if the arrow doesn't go far enough. She penetrated both lungs and hit the other rib cage. She did not exit, but 39 at 25 inches at 20 paces with 750 grains, burying them to the fletch, 5 in a row. Now, she didn't shoot the humorous ball. I got that, but the target's about that big on a long shot on a Cape buffalo. So probably ought to be able to hit 3 basketballs. Can't hit that.
Yeah.
In trouble. All right, I'll officially shut up now.
All right, Troy, we appreciate it, man. Like I said, I knew already this was going to be all over the place. So, again, if you made it this far, we really appreciate you listening. And, Troy, we will look forward to talking to you next time, brother.
Okay. See you around.
All right, everyone, that is all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Troy, or better known as the Ranch Fairy. I know we had a deep dive into the black hole that is archery tuning, and we hope that you were able to take away some keys that you can use in your own personal setup. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please give us a rating and share this episode with a friend. And until next time, enjoy the pursuit.